We decided not to talk about this character on the cast, but now that we have a new member on the cast, we got to bring out the news that's going on with him. And since I love having two different aspects of the character, but Superman.
Oh, time to go.
The TV show Metropolis just got an order for 13 episodes on DC Digital, which is going to be DC's new streaming service. This was originally supposed to be on Fox as a partner piece to Gotham, but it ended up not going that way. It's going to go over here instead. And it really, for fans of Gotham, I think they may like this because it follows the same type of thing. It's before Superman gets to Metropolis, so it doesn't revolve around Superman at all. It's more going to revolve around Lex Luthor and Lois Lane as they're dealing with weird things that happen in Metropolis and cases and stuff like that. So, yeah, what do we think? I'll go to the super fan first, Mr. Masonic Vader.
Well, it's I don't know. I think I'm more interested in the other series that's going to be coming out, the Kryptonian series. I mean, you're talking about going back and looking at Lois Lane trying to be a reporter, and we've already seen how many freaking versions of Clark Kent at the farmhouse, and I don't know.
Clark Kent at all in this.
I get it, but the what I was trying to get to is that it just seems like every time you go back with certain, like for example, Superman. I don't know if you can really go back and do too many stories, especially when you're talking about Lois Lane and Lex Luthor, because they're not the driving force of that series. They're add-ons. I mean, it's always about Superman.
But that's the kind of the thing that we've seen with Gotham, where they have.
Yeah, Gotham's filled with dope, like actual villains and characters like that. Like that's what makes Batman so great. Is he has this cast of rogues that balance him out, and they're super interesting with that.
Yeah,
Superman, he fights things from space. He fights the big monsters and things of that nature. Obviously, not early on in the Action Comics. He's doing a lot more around town and things of that nature. But I don't know, Lex. Like
I go with Matt, but and this is where I will sit there and say Beacon's right when it comes to the characters. Like Batman's character as a whole could be branched off and spun off because, like Matt said, the villains, there's super villains, and there's many of them. I mean, Superman had Lex Luthor. He had, Brainiac as time moves forward and stuff. But they're not going to be dealing with that. I mean, Lois Lane is boring. I mean, she's just a person. She's just a news reporter. If you want a news reporter, you can watch the news. Lex Luthor is great, but man, every time they come up with a new Lex Luthor, it's sadder than the last. I mean, every Lex Luthor that's come
since. We're going to pair them up because the way that they synopsis it here in this article is it will follow Lois Lane and Lex Luthor as they investigate the world of fringe science and expose the city's dark and bizarre secrets. So it might be just this weird Elseworld.
Yeah, no, Lex Luthor was never hanging. It's like Smallville, man. Smallville, no, these guys don't know each other before all this. They're trying to make new canon out of. They're trying to change the original stuff. Lex Luthor wasn't hanging out with Lois Lane and everything, and that's where I don't like when they get into these type of branch offs and stuff. They're trying to change it. Stick to what works, and that's it.
Yeah, well, that may be the way they're looking at it, is that it works. I want to get Beacon's thoughts on this because he is a fan of Gotham. John Stevens and Danny Cannon are executive producing Metropolis. They also serve as writers and executive producers on Gotham. So do you think that would make it something Superman-wise that you would watch? Because I know you're not.
No, well, I think Masonic Vader has a point, though, that like they're trying to do with Gotham, they're trying to do with the Superman story, the Metropolis story, with what they're doing with Gotham, and it's not going to work because Superman does revolve around the character of Superman, whereas in Batman you have awesome side characters like Jim Gordon, like Harvey Bullock, like all the cast of criminals where they came about and how their stories came about. You've got so much rich characters that you can go to and tell their stories and intermingle their stories without messing up canon, without kind of going too far off script. And I don't know that you can do that with Superman. It's already been done with Smallville, so I don't know that you can do it.
It's hard.
Yeah, Smallville was created to bring the female persuasion into the comic book genre, to give a different look to Superman and kind of throw it off. Because come on, man, Justice League in high school, come on.
It worked, and we're not going to lie. I grew up with that show being one of the popular shows of the time. With you had Buffy, you had Smallville, the start of Supernatural was coming, and Tom Welling did a good job with the role. Love Superman, hate Superman. You can't knock his performance. He did a good job bringing that character to life. And
not to mention Katie Couric and Harrison Durant.
Yeah. I mean, it had I love Allison Mack in the role. I actually don't like her as a person, but in the role of Chloe, she did a really good job being that nerdy, sidekick girl that she was. And it did bring a new generation, you could say, into the world of Superman that may not have seen the original movies.
Well, my thing is if they're trying to bring in the female detective story, right? First of all, there's so many other great female detective stories out there that could be revived.
Exactly.
100%. Lois Lane is not the character that needs to get brought around for a female detective story. My thing is go to something like Beyond Good and Evil, where you have this phenomenal world, a great video game behind it. I mean, Alex Mack, things of that nature. There's so much better female reporters than a Lois Lane story, and that's just to try to catch the DC comic, train. And I don't care.
I think when it comes, and I think it comes with Superman. Everyone knows a story, like everyone knows all these character stories, and because Batman's diversity makes it to where you could make other stories, kind of like Star Wars is now doing that. Mm-hmm. I think what made Man of Steel really good was the fact that we really got to see Krypton in a light, and we really got to see what the heck was going on. We got to see his parents. I mean, we saw it with the original movie, but it was like 5 seconds, and more people were more enamored with the fact that Marlon Brando was in a superhero movie.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Which he didn't want to be in. He was like, can't I just be my voice and we'll just put a suitcase? They don't know what Kryptonians really look like.
They don't know. And the best part of that is he had his lines in the baby's, garb, reading lines during that scene. I love that.
But Man of Steel, man, that first 15 minutes, dude, that first 15 minutes of having Russell Crowe, freaking Zod, generating that and seeing all that. That's what I really want to see. I want to see how the Krypton fell apart and what they tried to do to fix it, and then ultimately get to the ending.
And Jack Malice says that Wonder Woman's TV series would be better than bringing more Superman shows. But just to let you know, this is the 4th series that they have set up for this new streaming service. They're going to have a live-action drama of Titans, also an animated Harley Quinn, and Young Justice Outsiders. So they are bringing quite a few things to start with. So
again, there are so many other characters that we've seen like you've said, we've seen all these guys. I want to see some people we haven't seen, people that we barely touched on, maybe not even in the Superman world, just in all the verses. Jimmy Olsen's probably not a good example because he's just a reporter, but look at all these movies. Look at the Batman villains that we haven't necessarily had a movie about. There are so many Batman. Clayface is an amazing villain.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Why aren't we doing more with him? I not to knock the Joker, don't get me wrong, but the Joker he's kind of done right now. He's getting a little overplayed. I want to see some of these other characters that haven't had a chance to shine.
And I think that's why they're mixing in these other shows. I mean, outside of Harley, but the other shows that they're mixing in with this streaming service. If you're going to start a new service, you go with a property that's known. Mm-hmm. And you can put a different spin on it, which is what they're doing with the Metropolis show. It's the same thing with CBS starting their service and going, hey, new Star Trek. That's the only way you can watch it, unless you live out of the United States and you can watch it on Netflix. But
I will give DC props to this, man. DC is really doing a good job of listening to their fans when it comes to not only just the TV, but now the movie aspect of it, because I'm crossing my fingers, man, that they're able to pull off the next movie, because the little movie clip at the end with and it's just a spoiler if you haven't watched yet, guys, Justice League, but the movie clip with Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
And Deathstroke, and talking about bringing the Legion of Doom. For goodness sake, that would be awesome if they could bring that to the movie.
Yeah, and that's probably what they're going to do. This chat is going fantastic. I want to drop some of the
give
stuff
us a
that's
Legion of Doom or Legion of
going
Doom
on in there. In terms of Teddy Ruxpin, they were talking about how fantastic it would be to have the tape of Slayer in there, or Teddy Ruxpin singing Holy Diver, doing some Dio. They even made the joke that he'll be the next newscaster to go along with the Japanese.
There's a shout out for a Katie Couric show on there as well. So that was awesome.
Some jokes about Clayface on there. Clayface is the moist Sandman. And even the Electric Maestro brings up, to be honest, I barely know many characters in the Justice League itself. Anyone that sticks out aside from Wonder Woman, Flash, Batman, and Superman. They've had a lot of different characters throughout it, but they always went back to that core in the comics because then they started selling more comics. You know,
can you imagine if they took that Teddy? Can you imagine if they take that Teddy Ruxpin and turn it into one of those little animals that looks all cute until you sit there and you press the button, he goes, ah!
And that would be totally creepy.
The creepy bear. Let
me tell you a story. My name is Teddy Ruxpin, and you will die.
That's what they should be doing with the releasing some Five Nights at Freddy dolls and having them do that type of stuff. So
that's what Teddy Ruxpin really should be, is the Five Nights at Freddy stuff.
Exactly. But yeah, so I wanted to get into this story because, as we were talking about earlier, we have a fantastic new podcast starting with the Big Papa Matt and Beacon about Quest for 100. So to watch 100 movies in 365 days in the theater. And they are going to take punishments from you guys if they don't meet their goals, where you can tell them what terrible movies to watch instead. It doesn't have to be something that's in the theater now. You can just go tell them to watch this terrible movie on Netflix or something like that, and they have to report back on it so that they can say that they watched it. No cliff notes here.
Spice World.
Who doesn't like Spice World? What are you talking about? I love Spice World. It's my favorite musical.
But there was a fantastic actress that was talked about on your guys' cast on the first episode, and Big Papa Matt brought up that we need to see her in more films as much as possible. So Octavia Spencer, who is a amazing actress,
yes, queen.
She is reuniting with Tate Taylor, who was the filmmaker, director, or the creator of The Help, which Octavia, she won Oscar for, right? Or was she just nominated for Best Supporting Actress?
No, she did win that one, I believe.
She was robbed.
They're getting together.
Okay, damn it.
To make a psychological thriller called Ma. I want to know, especially since you were gushing over her, Big Papa Matt, what do you think about Octavia Spencer taking on a psychological thriller?
Anything she can be in, she will crush. She will be amazing at. If you haven't watched The Shape of Water, where actually the conversation started up from, she's already in something like that. Shape of Water gets very dark, gets very suspenseful towards the end of that film, and Octavia is phenomenal in that. And to hear that she's going to get a full movie around suspense and horror or whatever that could be is awesome. And the more she's on the big screen, the better our lives are going to be at the movies. She's phenomenal. She is so hard not to enjoy and to watch. And every time she's on screen, it's a scene you have to be a part of and see, because it'll be something you miss every time if you don't.
She's a chameleon, man. She fits into any role. She really does.
This movie just sounds amazing. I mean, it's a twisted thriller. It's Blumhouse production, so if you're going to do a suspenseful thriller, it's a good place to go to get them to produce it. Juliette Lewis is also in it. Luke Evans is in it. It sounds amazing.
So before we go too well on Blumhouse, just because, and I might be wrong, correct me if I am, but I believe Blumhouse is doing Deep Blue Sea 2, so they can fail at some of these things.
Anybody can fail. So.
Anybody can have a miss, and I think Blumhouse, if that's who it is, I think that's who I saw was doing the Deep Blue Sea 2. I think. I might be wrong, but I think that's who I saw do it.
They're coming up big now after last year. I mean, they had
some great movies last year. They're gonna have some. There's actually a phenomenal run of flicks this year. We'll talk about them on Quest for 100 a little bit more. I have a list of stuff that's not quite at my desk right now. What kind of a podcaster am I? But no, they had actually a killer run of good looking flicks coming out this year.
Hey, can I just say this really quick because I think this has to be said. It was on the chat room, and I think if we say it, it's just going to be out there. Moist Sandman.
We now have a new hashtag for Mouse Door. Hashtag Moist Sandman.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I just had to get that. This sounds amazing. Octavia Spencer doing this and stuff like that. And guys, definitely go over to iTunes or Stitcher, subscribe to the podcast, check it out. It is a fantastic podcast, and it's just going to get even better. This was their first one. I had fun listening to it. So I don't know if that's a glowing thing when it's me saying I had fun listening to it.
Hey man, you like the best of the best stuff. So you are a great litmus test for us.
I can tell you too that on our next episode we will definitely be talking some more Shape of Water because I did see it and I have a great story behind watching that movie. It's phenomenal. So you definitely have to check it out. It's a very funny story.
It is good.
Octavia Spencer is amazing in the movie. I think she's up for. I want to say she's up for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress.
Yes,
and I think Sally Hawkins is up for Best Actress.
It's nominated for what, like eight
nominations, eight nominations right now,
including Best Director and Best Film. Which, God, please give Guillermo a Best Director.
Let's give Guillermo a director, man. He deserves.
As well
Shape
as
of Water was the best movie of last year.
As well as they're up for Best Original Score in a movie too, up against like Star Wars and those movies for Best Music.
Absolutely magical piece of music in those films.
So good. So I can't say enough about that movie. So make sure you check out the Quest for 100. First episode and second episode will be definitely talking about Shape of Water and talking that movie up. So
and chat channel, huge shout out for a Reed Richards film, and I'm 100% into that. I think, or a show at least, because the Fantastic Four has been brutalized and bastardized all over the movies. And if he got a show, if we gave just Reed Richards a show that touched around the Fantastic Four a little bit, I'd be 100% into that.
Can I say I need a Doctor Doom show or Doctor Doom movie? I need Doctor Doom done right because he's one of my favorite comic book characters of all time.
And they wasted the talents of Julianne McMahon or however you say that guy's last name, because he is a phenomenal actor. If you never saw Nip Tuck, watch it. He was phenomenal and Charmed. I know y'all don't like that show, but that's okay. He was phenomenal in the role of Cole, playing that anti-hero, struggling, half human, half demon. He played that line brilliantly off Alyssa Milano. And I mean, he's a fantastic actor, and he was literally, in my opinion, the best thing about the Fantastic Four movie, even though the movie was a disappointment as a whole.
Yeah, and just because it's our thing, I like to shout out this stuff. And Electric brought up another great studio, A24. They crushed 2017 last year with stuff like Good Times, The Killing of a Sacred Deer, Lady Bird, Disaster Artist. Even Ingrid Goes West was an A24, which was a super weird, obscure film, but I loved it. They crushed 2017. So A24, anything you can give them is phenomenal. Also, Raw. Raw was amazing, killer foreign film.
And since we're talking, though, since we mentioned Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom and everything, I do want to just throw out a quick shout out to my friends here in the Treasure Valley Northwest area. That's Turbo Comics. So definitely check them out on Twitter. It's Turbo Comics ID for all of your comic needs. If you're missing a specific comic in a collection or you're trying to get into a certain collection, they're awesome guys. They actually did 7 different Comic Cons here in the Northwest of the United States. So they are all over the place. They work their butts off. They deserve a lot of credit. So check them out on Facebook, Turbo Comics, and check them out on Twitter at Turbo Comics ID. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Check them out. I think they have a convention coming up pretty soon.
They do. It's coming in March 17th and 18th. It's on the border of Idaho and Oregon. So I'm going to try to go down there and check it out and hang out with them.
And they're great people. They're great to follow on Twitter as well, because they will constantly show the treasures that they have come across that they have at their stores. So you should follow them on Twitter. You can also follow all of us on Twitter. We'll talk about how to follow us, but if you want to follow the main cast and all the main podcasts and everything like that, right there on your screen, it's somewhere on either one of these sides, I can't remember, but it has all of the Twitter handles for Malice Corp, Malicecast Live, Quest for 100, and Nerd Mosh Pit. So we have a lot of content that comes out to you guys, and we have a lot more video content that's going to be coming for you as well. Thanks for watching and subscribing. Are you excited for Metropolis and Octavia Spencer's new thriller, Ma? Let us know in the comments below. If you want to finish off the rest of the cast, make sure to hit that top video.